Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Wednesday, August 20, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, second accomplice in Ramchand's auto spares robbery arrested. Body of 5-year-old recovered after Cuyuni boat mishap. Army COS says GDF not covering up details surrounding Walter Rodney's death. Leopold Street man charged for allegedly robbing duo with toy gun. GTUC questions use of prison labor for cleanup campaign. And government to provide funding for UG student loans. Now for the news in detail. We start off by telling you that the second accomplice in the robbery which occurred at Ramchand's Auto Spares on Sheriff Street last month that resulted in the death of 21-year-old Kevin Fields has been arrested. Let's find out the details in this report.
According to the police, they have arrested the second suspect in the brazen daylight robbery on July 14th at Ramchand's Auto Spares. In a release, the police said that the suspect, whose name was withheld, is also implicated in a robbery committed on Medicare Pharmacy's Sheriff Street outlet. The suspect is assisting with investigations in both robberies. On July 14th, 21-year-old Kevin Fields, called Demon of Titan Street Agricola, was shot dead after he had robbed a businessman at the City Auto Spares store. Reports reveal that about 1200 hours the businessman went into Ramchand's Auto Spares at Sheriff Street to transact business when a man armed with a firearm entered and snatched a bag containing some $1.7 million from him. The armed man ran outside towards a motorcycle where an accomplice was waiting. However, he was followed by the businessman. Fields discharged a round at the businessman, who then returned fire, hitting him on his neck, causing him to fall off the bike, while his accomplice escaped. The bag with the money was recovered and an unlicensed .3.2 Taurus revolver, along with 5 rounds and a spent shell, was recovered. Following Fields' death, several photos of him on his Facebook account showed him posing with large sums of money and a firearm license. However, the police claimed that they had never issued any such document to the young man. There were also photos of the 21-year-old in a bulletproof vest, large jewelry pieces, and several firearms posted on his Facebook page. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manekchan.
The body of 5-year-old Bisham Munilal, who went missing on Monday after the boat in which he was traveling crashed into a rock in the vicinity of the Dukwari River in Cuyuni, has been recovered. More in this report.
The child, who lived with his father Bisham Munilal Sr., mother and 6-year-old sister at the Venezuelan border, was reportedly with his father when the accident occurred. The father, according to reports received, is still devastated after receiving confirmation that his son's body was recovered following the boat mishap in the Cuyuni River on Monday. The body of 5-year-old Bisham Munilal Jr. has been taken to the Bartica Hospital, where it was then transported to the Likens Funeral Home. The body is awaiting a post-mortem examination. According to a release from the Guyana Police Force, Munilal and Jose Henrique Salvo de Souza, 66, of Junior Rose Landing, were passengers on a boat traveling along a river at Durkurari, Cuyuni, when the vessel struck a rock and several passengers were thrown overboard. Many of the passengers managed to make their way to the safety of the boat, except for the 5-year-old and the Brazilian national. A search party was established which led to the discovery of the Brazilian national, but up to late Tuesday afternoon there were no signs of Munilal. The police have since taken statements from the other passengers on board and are continuing their investigations. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defence Force, Brigadier Mark Phillips, has refuted allegations made against the military body that it was deliberately seeking to stymie the work of the ongoing Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry by failing to provide pertinent documents to the Commission. Alexis Rodney tells us why.
The Army Chief noted that it was against his policy to be involved in such a practice, pointing out that the organization has been doing all it can to assist the work of the tribunal. During his cross-examination at the 4th sitting of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry earlier this month, lawyer representing the interests of the Working People's Alliance, Christopher Rama, had accused the GDF of tampering with the investigation into the death of the historian. But COS Phillips in response reiterated that the Army had already pledged its support to the Commission.
Well, you recall that before, when the Commission was established actually, one of the force agencies that the Commission's paid a courtesy call on was the GDF. And since then we have indicated to the Commissioners that we will cooperate fully with the Rodney Commission of Inquiry.
Brigadier Phillips said the Army has since been doing so and has provided all of the documents that have been requested by the Commission. Asked about the missing documents, Phillips said he could not say because all the documents in the possession of the Army had been handed over.
I'm not aware of any covering up, at least that's not my policy to cover up in this regard.
The Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry, probing the circumstances surrounding the death of the Working People's Alliance leader, had requested from the military information that will assist it in determining whether or not Gregory Smith was indeed whisked away to Kokwani in one of its aircraft a few hours after Dr. Rodney was assassinated. Christopher Ram put it to Colonel Kite that the disappearance of the records was not an act of God or an accident, but a well-orchestrated plan by the hierarchy of the Guyana Defense Force to conduct a massive cover-up into Dr. Rodney's death. The Army Sergeant and electronics expert Smith, who became an active member of the force on June 27, 1975, had been accused of handing Dr. Walter Rodney a bomb planted in a device which exploded and caused his death on June 13, 1980. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
In the courts, a 48-year-old vendor of Leopold Street was today remanded for robbery under arms, which was committed today. John Martin appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Fabio Azor. The charge alleged that at 5 hours this morning at Main Street, he robbed Monique Vossi of one Plum cell phone, valued $12,000, and Miguel Sami a sum of $6,400 in Guyanese currency. However, the gun that was used was found to be a toy gun when checked by the police. Martin pleaded guilty to the charges laid against him, and he has been sentenced to 12 months imprisonment. The Clean Up My Country Program Committee has contracted the Guyana Prison Service to spruce up sections of Lirapinter Cemetery, a move condemned by the Guyana Trades Union Congress as being against International Labour Organization conventions. More in this report.
The GTUC says it notes with concern reports that the Guyana Prison Service has entered into a contract with the Ministry of Local Government to use prisoners on its Clean Up My Country program. In a statement, the organization condemned the contracting of prison labor for the cleanup, while calling on the government to uphold International Labour Organization conventions. According to the union, the work of the Lirapinter Cemetery falls under the purview of the mayor and the city council. The union said any such move must be guided by internationally accepted principles, which Guyana has embraced through the adoption of the International Labour Organization Forced Labour Convention No. 29. On Tuesday, the campaign committee handed over equipment to the Georgetown Prison Service, which will be used to clean up portions of the Lirapinter Cemetery. The Guyana Prison Service was contracted to debauch Block 7 of the cemetery. In a release, the committee said as part of the contractual agreement, the prison service agreed to provide the skills, and the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development had agreed to supply the tools needed to execute the work. The team comprises 24 inmates and 4 supervising officers. Under the Clean Up My Country program, Lirapinter Cemetery will see a major facelift where access roads will be rehabilitated, vegetation will be cut down, and internal drains will be desilted. The first phase of the works commenced on August 4, where the Guyana Beekeeping Association removed several beehives from the cemetery. For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
If you have a news tip or news story you'd like our news team to follow, message us or WhatsApp telephone numbers 680-9630 or 600-3117. You can also call the office on telephone numbers 231-0382, 226-2102, 223-7230 or 223-7231. More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. Back in the courts, 30-year-old Junior Harmon Passod was today granted bail after he was charged for 2 unrelated offenses. The charges read to him in court were unlawful assault and unlawful and malicious wounding when he appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court before Magistrate Fabio Azor. The first charge alleged that on August 15 at Waterloo Street, Posot unlawfully assaulted Joan Richmond to cause actual bodily harm. The second charge alleged that on the same day at Brigdam, he unlawfully and maliciously wounded the said virtual complainant. Posot pleaded not guilty to both charges. He was granted bail in the sum of $35,000 for the assault charge and $65,000 for the other offence. He will return to court on October 6. Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh has announced that the Government of Guyana will be providing funding for students to be granted loans for the new academic school year. Alexis Rodney reports.
The decision was taken to meet the cost of the increased tuition fees recently announced by the university. Minister Singh explained that Cabinet came to the decision after extensively deliberating on the matter. He said it was decided that student loans will be granted to cover the new tuition costs. The loans granted to finance tuition fees, Singh said, will not include the facilities fee. That, he noted, will have to be paid by students themselves. Minister Singh indicated that he had issued the necessary directive for the Student Loan Agency to commence processing loan applications immediately for the coming academic year. He emphasized that the decision to grant the increased student loans was made as a result of government's commitment to ensure that no Guyanese student is denied access to the university education because of affordability. The minister said he hopes, too, that the increased revenue earned by the university will be used to make the necessary changes that will ensure better effectiveness during its operations. UG's Vice-Chancellor Dr. Jacob Obadeyi, at a press briefing last Wednesday, had warned that if the Finance Ministry did not approve the disbursement of student loans, the university will be temporarily shut down. Although 40% of the student population acquired loans in the last academic year, this percentage is expected to skyrocket with the increase in tuition fees that will take full effect come September. Based on that analysis, the Vice-Chancellor said it will not be financially viable to operate the university with just those students who can afford to pay cash. New students in the social sciences are now required to pay a tuition fee of $160,000 in addition to $50,000 in facilities fees, while continuing students will pay $130,000 along with the facility fees. Adjustments have also been made to the fees paid by international students. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy says trawler owners will be denied a fishing license unless they are in possession of a vessel monitoring system, that's the VMS, while in 2015, artisanal fishermen will have to be in possession of a global positioning system, GPS, in order to be granted a license. This, Dr. Ramsamy explained, will also help to solve a bigger problem. There is the allegation that big boats come and meet the fishermen and trawlers out at sea to take away the fish, so Guyana does not benefit. He, however, added that the extent of this alleged act is not known, but will be known with the installation of the VMS tracking device. In addition, installation of VMS will also solve the problem of trawlers getting into the path of artisanal fishermen and destroying their fish nets. Further, the Agriculture Ministry will work along with the Home Affairs Ministry on an aggressive anti-piracy program. In this report, we'll hear now that the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs has rolled out the activities planned for Amerindian Heritage Month 2014.
The festivities for the Amerindian Heritage Month have been revealed, and the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs promises that this year would be bigger and better. This year's celebration will last from August 31st to September 30th and is being held under the theme Traditional Embodiment for Amerindian Development. The launch will be held on September 1st at the Heritage Village in the Sophia Exhibition Center. It is expected to be packed with cultural presentations from Amerindian villages in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9.
It's going to be a very good launch. We would have the sample dishes there with kadukuro and pepper pot. We have some cassava bread. We're going to give you that sample dish so that you can have a taste of our food. So we are inviting everyone to come in. It's going to be nice. We have good thing in store for you on that day. This invitation now is extended to all Guyanese. I know that on September 1, not only the Amerindians converge at the exhibition complex, but we have all other Guyanese coming to celebrate with us.
There will also be an interfaith service on August 31st and a cultural extravaganza from September 2nd to 6th. Another event Guyanese look forward to during Amerindian Heritage Month is the Sports and Games celebrations. This will be held at the Everest Cricket Ground on September 20th and 21st.
It's a 2 days activities, and this focuses on various sports such as football, cricket, volleyball, and even some traditional activities as well, Paiwari drinking, tug of war, archery, and among others. So what we're going to do is to invite as much as possible various teams from around the indigenous communities of Guyana, all the way from Region 1 to Region 9, 10 inclusive.
Meanwhile, the heritage village selected for this year's celebration is Karao in Region 7. According to the coordinator of Heritage Day activities, this will be an opportunity for the village and others nearby to showcase their cultural heritage. Here are some details on events planned for Heritage Day, which will be held on September 13th.
Karao is located 5 minutes away from Bartico. So to get to Karao there wouldn't be no problem in terms of transportation or accessibility. The events that are planned for the heritage for the day itself include a march past. There's the exhibition of art and craft and food. There's games. There will be a cultural presentation. There will be a variety of tumupot, smoked wild meat, and other delicacies. The Calabro Band, Dog Point, and Batavia bands will be the three bands that would take us throughout the night.
Karao is home to approximately 300 Amerindians and was inhabited by the Arawaks. The main economic activities in the village includes logging, farming, and mining. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manikchan.
Fulfilling a promise made by President Donald Ramotar several weeks ago during a visit to Mora Point in Region 5, a team from the One Laptop a Family, that's the OLPF unit, visited the area and distributed 80 laptops to residents. The OLPF Deputy Project Manager Azaria Azim directed residents on the procedure for distribution while assuring them that training would be conducted at the same time. He commended the residents for the 100% turnout and for enabling the distribution to run smoothly. Azim explained that the laptops were normal computers and were not fitted with anything to gather personal information on the new owners. Residents expressed their thanks to the Government of Guyana for providing the computers, which would be of help to them and their children. More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. In this story, you'll hear that the Georgetown Mayor Hamilton Green is expressing concern over some recently issued tax waivers following the alleged intervention of the local government minister, Norman Whitaker.
At a press conference held earlier today, Mayor Hamilton Green expressed his concern and frustration over what the City Council deems to be a mismanagement of the city's funds. Mayor Green related that a delegation of councillors made a report to the crime chief Leslie James after the local government minister granted an exemption of a sum of $26 million in rates and taxes. According to Deputy Mayor Patricia Chase Green, they had received an application for tax exemption by owner of Strand Cinema, Anand Prasad. However, a judgment was passed by the court and he was required to pay some $10 million, but he later appealed that case. She related that the council became suspicious when they received another exemption application by Ganga Prasad and Sons for the same building. Green also said that the minister does not have the authority to grant such exemptions.
Approves. This case he doesn't send it to the council, but this case he approves. So the minister is not very consistent in what he does, Approves a waiver of the amount of $3,219,246 due in rates. Minister's letter.
Shania Singh for the Evening News.
Guyana will be represented at this year's 12th International Qasida Mehfil, which will be hosted by the Hidayatul Islam in Paramaribo, Suriname on August 29 and 30. Guyana's participation will be through the Guyana United Sadr Islamic Anjuman and the Anna Catherine Islamic Complex. The country will be represented in all categories, male and female, junior and senior, and in addition to the participants, a large delegation will travel from Guyana for the event. The event in Suriname follows Trinidad and Tobago's hosting of the annual event in April last and will also see participation from Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, India, Pakistan, Canada and Holland, and according to the Hidayatul Islam, plans are already underway to make this event unique and memorable. Region 10 small luggers are contemplating the establishment of a centralized market council that would aid in the price negotiating process. The details from Svetlana Marshall.
Region 10 small luggers on Tuesday said they will be putting the requisite systems in place that would guarantee better prices for the various species of wood sold. Kokwani Natural Resources Organization co-founder Patricia Boyle said small loggers are benefiting from the sales of Wamaro logs to Chinese companies in Guyana, but said better prices are needed.
Price increase. Increase the price for Wamaro to US $220 per cubic meter at the hard road or the timber depot sites. Measurements. The practice of taking 2 cm off the measurements need to change and pay for measurements that you receive. GFC grading rules does not stipulate that 2 cm must be taken off from the original measurements when payment is being made.
Currently, Wamara is being sold at the cost of US $140 per cubic meter and even at lower rates. Region 10 Agriculture and Forest Producers Association consultant Philip Biner suggested the establishment of a centralized marketing council, a recommendation which was received with nods of those present.
One of the things emerging out of this little problem that we have here is that the small loggers in Region 10 will establish a centralized marketing council that will be responsible for selling timber to whosoever will may come at one centralized price. And I can assure you, the starting off price for that, once the different associations can agree and set up the mechanism to have this done, the starting off price for that is going to be what the real price for Wamaro is.
Small loggers from Region 10 converged at Umanayana on Tuesday to vent their concerns. Representatives from various logging associations and entities are expected to meet with their main buyers to discuss the way forward.
Stay tuned, your regional, international and bridge reports are next. Welcome back. This is the evening news on TVG. In the region, a senior official of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, on Tuesday defended its policies towards Antigua and Barbuda after the island's new government launched a scathing attack on the Washington-based financial institution. The IMF Deputy Director of the Western Hemisphere Department, Adriana Chesty, was forced to abandon her prepared speech as she responded to remarks by Prime Minister Gaston Brown that the IMF was responsible for the economic situation now facing the island. Internationally, Macy's is to pay $650,000 to settle claims it racially profiled and detained ethnic minority shoppers at its flagship Manhattan shop. Under a deal with the New York's Attorney General, Macy's agreed to a series of changes at its 42 stores across the state. Staff at Macy's, one of the U.S. retailing's big names, were said to have targeted shoppers because of their color. Some complaints against Macy's were from customers who, despite not concealing goods, were detained after moving between floors at a Manhattan store. Other consumers who spoke poor English and were suspected of shoplifting or credit card fraud were not allowed to make phone calls or have an interpreter and were required to sign documents they could not understand. Employees at Macy's detained 1,947 people at a Manhattan store, while a further 6,000 people were held at other stores in New York State, the investigation found. In case you've just joined us, you're watching the evening news, where we now take a look at your bridge reports. The Damar Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed from 14 hours 30 on Thursday, August 21, 2014 for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice River Bridge is expected to be closed from 14 hours 40 on Thursday, August 21, 2014 for a period of 1.5 hours. Join us after the break for sports, sponsored by MarkWalk. This is the evening news. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport, but first the headlines. Pollard rammed in hand West Indies series lead. Gibson and WICB part ways. Battle of the contenders shifted to September, and annual swimming camp unearthing new talents. Of course, this podcast comes with the kind compliments of MacCorp.
We believe that everything worth building should be built just once. But that is why we build on culture, on trust, on integrity. We exist to do more, better, faster, safer. Your success depends on the foundation it's built on. Everything we do is meant to move you forward. MacCorp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details. We start off with some cricket news. The West Indies took a 1-0 lead in the 3-match ODI series against Bangladesh with a 3-wicket win in Grenada. Bangladesh batted first and posted 217 for 9, to which the hosts replied with 219 for 7 with 62 balls remaining. The West Indies slumped to 34 for 5 in the 14th over, and a heavy defeat seemed on the card before Pollard and Ramdin stormed back with a magnificent 6-wicket partnership of 145 in 21 overs that turned the match on its head. Ramdin fell for 74 off 76 balls, while Pollard cracked 6 sixes and 5 fours and 89 from 70 deliveries. Jason Holder sealed the win with 3 boundaries in 22 from 15 balls. Bowling for Bangladesh, Alamin Hussain picked up 4 for 51. Earlier, Bangladesh were indebted to a third ODI 100 from Anamul Haq, who was dismissed off the final ball of the innings for 109 in a total of 217 for 9. The opener received little support as only Tamim Iqbal and Nazir Hussain with 26 each got past 20. Skipper Dane Bravo was the pick of the bowlers with 4 for 32. The second match is billed for Friday at the same venue. Meanwhile, Otis Gibson has officially ended his tenure as West Indies coach with immediate effect. The West Indies Cricket Board released a statement on Tuesday night that confirmed that the board and Gibson had, quote-unquote, mutually agreed to terminate their association. More on this report. The WICB statement ended the speculation that began after Gibson was absent from team training in Grenada on Monday ahead of the first ODI against Bangladesh. Richie Richardson, the team manager, will take charge of the side on an interim basis for the series against Bangladesh. The rest of the coaching staff, including assistant coaches Stuart Williams and Andre Coley and bowling consultant Courtney Ambrose, will remain in their positions. Michael Muirhead, the WICB Chief Executive Officer, said, and I quote, "On behalf of the board and the West Indies cricket as a whole, we express our gratitude to Otis for his work, particularly in coaching the team to winning the ICC World T20 in 2012, and offer our best wishes to him in all his future endeavours." End quote. The board's statement also noted Gibson's unwavering commitment and professionalism during his tenure, which began in early 2010 when he left his job as England's bowling coach to take charge of the West Indies. During his time as head coach, West Indies won 9 of 36 test matches and won 3 test series, 2 against Bangladesh and 1 against Zimbabwe. However, they lost back-to-back series to New Zealand, both away and at home over the past 9 months. They currently sit 8th on the ICC test rankings, ahead of only Zimbabwe and Bangladesh, 8th on the ODI rankings and 7th on the T20 rankings. Their most notable achievement during Gibson's tenure was winning the T20 World Cup in 2012 in Sri Lanka. The annual swimming camp organized by the National Sport Commission is gaining momentum, but more importantly, is unearthing new talents that could serve the country well in the future. This is according to Coach Paul Mahaika, who spoke with TVG on the progress made thus far. During a visit to the camp at the Colgrane Pool on Wednesday morning, the youngsters were observed going through their drills with a team of coaches led by the experienced Cuban Isabel Maria Causa Fowles. According to one of the coaches, Paul Mahaika, this year has been the largest ever in the history of the camp in terms of participation, with 120 youths attending the sessions. Of that number, 95 of them came to the camp without any prior knowledge of the intricacies of the sport. Mahaika, who is a Level 2 FINA certified coach, pointed out that significant progress has been made since the camp started several weeks ago.
At the starting, the first day was very hard. We have some of them just frightened to put the head in the water. That take maybe 1 hour session teaching them to put the head in the water and floating and stuff and things like that. And now you can see those same children who was frightened to put the head and blow bubbles. They are floating and kicking. No, and as a coach, you find joy in that, to know that someone who did not know to do something, you turn them into a swimmer. They could survive on their own, and our own wish is for them to continue, the parents to follow it up and don't just let it be an August program thing. It could continue so that this swimming in the hole could be developed.
Mahika said a team of coaches has observed a high level of talent among the 2014 group, something that can be nurtured going forward.
Yes, we see some good talent that we could work with at the aquatic center. This is why right now we are urging the parents them to come on board with us and let us develop these swimmers, bring them up to athlete standard, because over the years we have some swimmers come out from this same program and even went to Goodwill Games. Right now we have 2 here who went to represent us at Goodwill, and they did excellent.
While some of the youngsters possess natural talent, making the job of coaching a lot easier, some need extra work and they will be placed in clubs depending on their level of interest in the sport. According to Mahika, one of the encouraging things is the support of parents who are attending the sessions on a daily basis and monitoring the children's progress.
Every day you see the parents come and sit down and watch their children swim. So we would tell them things to do at home, teach them how to kick, so that the parents could pass it on to the children, and they were doing that. I think it's all that helped us to have such a high success rate because the parents was involved.
Mahika said they are at a stage now of assessing the swimmers who, depending on their level of talent, will graduate to the more stringent program being offered at the National Aquatic Centre at Liliendal. And finally, some boxing news. The Guyana Boxing Board of Control's Battle of the Contenders card has been shifted to September 13 and will now be held at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. The event was originally scheduled for August 30 in open air at the Banks DIH Ground Thirst Park, but the concerns over the weather have forced organizers to make the switch. Sakima Mullings of Jamaica will take on Guyanese Derek Richmond in a junior middleweight 8-round clash, while Iwan Azor and Dexter Gonzalez will meet in a junior welterweight 8-round contest. 2 other fights are carded for the night, with Richard Williamson looking for revenge against Dexter Marks in a super bantamweight 6-round rematch, and Jamaican Kemal Russell taking on the Guyanese Winston Pompey in a 6-round middleweight bout. Admission to the venue is $2,000 for ringside and $1,000 for stands. And with that, we have come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by MarkCorp. And that's a wrap as well on the evening news for today, Wednesday, August 20, 2014. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in Georgia and Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.